But his Grand Prix glory, the home crowd favourites craving for from pole. It's time to race in MotoGP. So located nearby the beach towns of Rimini, Vecchione and Cattolica lies the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, 4.226 kilometres in length, 2.626 miles. 32nd time Misano has hosted a Grand Prix, the first one all the way back in 1980. Pretty busy and tight first sector, including good overtaking opportunities into turns 1 and 4. The spectacular, the jaw-dropping turn 11, Cavone, one of the fastest corners on the track, leads you into sector 3. Turn 8 was one of the hardest braking zones around this Misano track. Overtaking hotspots around what's a relatively tight layout. Well, there's plenty of them. This was last year in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, a last lap thriller, an aggressive move by Enea Bastianini on Jorge Martin. So starting from pole position, Marco Bezzecchi on the factory Aprilia made a good early start after a battle with Alex and Marc Marquez. Fabio Quartararo crashed out of contention from the front row on the factory Yamaha. At turn 6, Marc Marquez decided to make his move as he homed in on a 9th successive sprint victory. But just 9 corners later, and for the first time in 2025, the factory Ducati star crashed out of contention as he was well set for a 15th sprint win of the season. That left Marco Bezzecchi to complete a dream Saturday for the factory Aprilia team. Bez from pole position to his first sprint win for Aprilia, his first since Assen all the way back in 2023. Coming up next though live, it is the 27-lap Grand Prix of San Marino, where we will see if Marc Marquez can get instant revenge with the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli after he crashed out of the lead in yesterday's 13-lap sprint. A really strong crowd already gathered here on Italy's Adriatic coast. Welcome one and all to the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino. Welcome to the Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli. Well, there's already been some pretty good news for fans of this historic racetrack, because it was confirmed just a few moments ago that we are going to be here until 2031 at least. There's been a contract extension signed, and the Grand Prix of San Marino and the Rimini Riviera, to give it its full title, well, we're going to be back here for at least another 5 or 6 years or so. Quite right as well. It's one of the most looked forward to Grand Prix on the schedule. Close by to the summer holiday hotspots of Riccione, Rimini and Cattolica. And those fans, well, they are expectant. They are hopeful to see more home success after a brilliant Saturday for Marco Bezzecchi. A bit of history for Bez yesterday, becoming the first rider to take sprint wins for 2 different manufacturers. His only previous sprint success, well, that came all the way back halfway through our 2023 World Championship campaign at the iconic Dutch TT in Assen. It was Marco's first sprint win in 46, which has a bit of a ring to it, doesn't it, in this part of the world, of course. We are so close to Tavullia, the hometown of 7 times MotoGP world champion, the Italian icon, the home hero Valentino Rossi, we saw celebrating with Marco Bezzecchi after his sprint win here yesterday. We've only ever had one Aprilia treble. That was Maverick Vinales in Austin, Texas at the start of 2024. As there's some late well wishes from Marco Bezzecchi's family and friends as he has a sprightly jog into the back of the factory Aprilia garage. Can he add a Grand Prix victory to pole and sprint success yesterday? Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? Matt Burton Lewis should have been in the commentary box. Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. And for the first time in 2025, on a sprint Saturday, Marc Marquez fluffed his lines as he went slightly offline going into turn 15. And that was it. There was to be no 15th sprint success for Marc. There was a first sprint success of the campaign for Marco Bezzecchi and for Aprilia.
Yeah, it shows what kind of level Marc Marquez has been at this season. The silver medal was seen as failure. He didn't even achieve that yesterday as Marco Bezzecchi enjoyed his sprint success with some illustrious company. Of course, his mentor and MotoGP Hall of Famer Valentino Rossi, joined by McLaren Formula One star Lando Norris. Marco Bezzecchi then looking to complete the dream home double here this afternoon after the rather eccentric celebrations yesterday when he carried a fake leg with him to the podium. And he's looking to put the boot into the opposition on this Sunday afternoon in San Marino.
There was a bit of post-sprint drama as well for his mum Daniela, who took a bit of a tumble while she was celebrating with her son. Thankfully, no penalty from the F1 MotoGP stewards for Marco. Yeah, of course, he has huge support here from family and friends. Massive, massive home Grand Prix. It's been some response from a real difficult Grand Prix of Catalonia last time out for Bez, where he didn't score a single point in the sprint or the Grand Prix. At this moment, when Marco just made a slight mistake on the brakes going into turn 4, cost him a bit of speed going through 5. Marc Marquez decided that was his moment. He pounced with that clinical move going through 6. But then just 9 corners later, this happened. Disaster. A very rare lapse in 2025 as far as Marc Marquez is concerned. Of course, we did see him crash out of the lead in the Austin Grand Prix, but that was his first big mistake on a sprint Saturday. Before this moment, when the front end washes out on that factory Ducati going through turn 15, sprint Saturdays had been sensational. Valentino Rossi looking on. I think the reaction and response from some sections of this Misano circuit have stirred up a bit of controversy. No need for us to cover that one off. That's been well discussed across social media, as I'm sure you're all aware. Goes without saying, though, given their history, that Marc Marquez is not exactly going to win any popularity contest in this part of the world, is he?
He knows this is a major away fixture for him. Well, it has been a weekend of a lot of positives for the Honda squad. 6th and 12th they are on the grid. Luca Marini going very well. Will Joan Mir join him on the grid for this San Marino Grand Prix? Let's cover off all those stories with Alberto Puig, who joins Jack.
Yeah, he does indeed. He's just wandered off for one final chat with one of the guys over on Luca Marini's side. Alberto, just firstly, Joan, is he going to race?
Yeah, he's going to race. How he will finish the race is another story, but this morning he was much better than yesterday. Yesterday, impossible. But still, it's quite painful. But yeah, I mean, of course he's going to try. Let's see. I mean, the race is long. It's 27 laps, so we really don't know until what is the outcome. I mean, but he will be in the grid and he will start and he will try his best.
Comes at such a frustrating time because, I mean, we can see the advancements, the upgrades that are on the Honda bike at the moment. You've taken a huge step forwards. Did you feel that you guys are as competitive now as you have been for quite some time?
Well, in February in Sepang, I told you that after the summer we will make an improvement.
You did.
And we are trying to do it, but we did it. And we are still, working on it for this year and for the next year. But yeah, what you say is true. I mean, now that we are coming a little bit with the bike, this incident here in this race with Joan, but you have to take it how it comes. I mean, this is racing, but yeah, from the part of the bike, the evolution of the bike, we are trying our best, and they are working a lot in Japan, and let's see.
In the LCR box, Joan Zarco still hasn't got all of these updates as the only man to win a race for Honda, to put it on a podium, to be the leading Honda in the championship. Can you understand his frustration that seemingly at the moment his bike is not at the level of the factory guys?
Well, I don't read so much, but I don't know I think Joan is doing a very good season, and I think tomorrow in the test he's going to be testing many parts. So I don't understand, but we only think that what he did this year for Honda is fantastic, and we are very, very pleased for his result. This is all I can tell you.
Just finally, whilst I've got you, the only seat yet to be confirmed for the grid next year is with Honda. When can we expect an announcement to have that 2026 grid fully lined up and ready to go?
Well, I think yeah, we must decide in the next weeks what is going to be the final outcome, and yeah, as soon as we know, we will let you know.
Thanks, Alberto. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to HRC boss Alberto Puig. So the good news is Joan Mir at least will start this 27-lap Grand Prix of San Marino. Whether he finishes it with that real nasty pain in his neck after a crash at turn 9 on Friday, well, that remains to be seen. Feels like we've been here and done it all before, doesn't it? A week ago, Alex Marquez crashed out of the sprint in Catalunya when he was looking well set for the victory, and bounced back brilliantly on the Sunday. Well, this time around, it's all eyes on brother Mark to see if he can produce the same bounce back here today in Misano. Well, he certainly looks calm, he looks very relaxed. Why wouldn't he be? Because he's so close to capturing that 7th MotoGP world title. Of course, the maths now tell us that he will be able to be crowned world champ next time out in Japan. It's now mathematically only possible for a Marquez to win this year's MotoGP World Championship.
I think Alex Marquez's main concern will be safeguarding second place in the World Championship. Of course, if he can do that, it might in its own way delay Marc Marquez's coronation. If Marc Marquez wins today, wins the sprint in Japan and then the Grand Prix in Japan, that will be enough for him to be crowned world champion on the Sunday afternoon at the Mobility Resort Motegi, where of course he has enjoyed some World Championship success in the past. This was just behind the leading trio yesterday. Fabio Quartararo crashing out of 4th place. The Yamaha's beset by some chatter issues, particularly at the rear yesterday in the sprint. Quartararo, though, reasonably confident that by going up from the soft to the medium rear this afternoon, that should keep him very much in contention for the top 5.
Sprint Saturdays of late, A-OK as far as Fabio De Gianantonio is concerned. 3 sprint podiums on the spin for the Italian, who's got a lot of support, as you can see, as he comes to the back of the VR46 Racing Ducati garage. Sunday success, well, less so. There hasn't been much of it lately for Digia. Just 1 point collected in the last 5 Grand Prix. He did win bragging rights last night in Portimao Enduro, holding off Frankie Morbidelli, his teammate, to take 3rd place in that sprint. Now, just having a look out of our commentary box window, there's been cloud cover that's sort of hung over this Misano World Circuit Marquez Simoncelli for much of our race day after blazing sunshine on Friday and Saturday. There was some overnight rain as well in this part of Italy's Adriatic coast. We had a flag-to-flag race here last year. Surely not again, Jack?
Yeah, I don't think so, but I'm not 100% confident. The only reason that I started thinking about it is because I was in Maverick Vinales' side of the box, and Manu Cachot was there with the weather radar on, and there's definitely some in the region, but does look as though for the moment it is going to avoid us. I went down to our resident weatherman, the only man I trust on MotoGP pit lane, Lucio Cecchinello, and he got out one of his 112 apps and confirmed to me that there isn't going to be any rain coming. So I trust Lucio. He's been right before. Let's hope he's right again.
Well, it's all on Lucio Cecchinello then in terms of what happens then weather-wise in this 27-lap Grand Prix. Thanks for the update, Jack. Fabio Quartararo then heading to the back of the factory Yamaha garage. It was a shame that he had those surprising vibration issues, those chatter issues with the rear end of that Yamaha yesterday. We do know that this Misano circuit, we've talked about it a lot this weekend, it offers just fantastic grip. One of the grippiest tracks on the Grand Prix calendar, resurfaced back in 2020. It barely looks like it's been used. I mean, there's a few bumps, a few ripples, but that's sort of standard after 5 years of wear. Not very abrasive either. Marc Marquez said yesterday, there's no tyre saving. This is nothing like Barcelona last weekend. No significant tyre drop to contend with. Full chat from the get-go, and good luck.
Yeah, no tyre saving, but potentially some energy saving for Joan Mir this afternoon. You heard confirmation from Alberto Puig around 5 minutes ago. He will take the start of this San Marino Grand Prix. Whether he makes it to the finish is another matter. I think a lot of that might well depend on how competitive he is in the race. And that, of course, may be directly linked to the pain and discomfort that he's been suffering. The crash on Friday afternoon, when he was already in the top 10 and guaranteed to reach Q2, looks like it's had a serious detrimental effect on Joan Mir's weekend. He's got a physical pain in the neck. Pecco Bagnaia has a metaphorical one.
Well, we're looking at a rider who is in a whole world of trouble right now. Pecco Bagnaia, two-time MotoGP world champion, who is suffering and, as he said yesterday, living a nightmare. Just cannot get any confidence whatsoever on the factory Ducati. He limped over the line yesterday in the sprint in a morale-crushing, demoralising 13th place. He got a little bit of help for that 13th as well, because Brad Binder, Mark and Quartararo all exited ahead of him. So Pecco Bagnaia just looking... I don't care. I don't think Pecco will care if it rains or if it's a flag to flag. Anything to sort of get him some confidence back on that GP25. Honda's challenge once again was led yesterday by Luca Marini, and that's now points in 3 sprints on the spin for the Italian. He has yet to finish outside the points on a Sunday Grand Prix as well so far this year, and has started to find himself a permanent fixture inside that top 10. Brilliant 5th, of course, in Hungary. 8th last time out in Catalonia. Throw in a top 6 as well in the Sachsenring. Top 10s in Argentina, Austin and Qatar, Jerez as well. So, yeah, I think we're going to be expecting Marini to be picking a fight for the top 6 this afternoon.
You saw some Portuguese support there for Miguel Oliveira, who starts from an equal season's best 13th this afternoon. Came across the line at the end of the sprint yesterday in 16th place. A large part of that was down to some early contact with Ayogura that damaged some of the front aero of his Yamaha M1, which has already taken its fair share of damage after Oliveira crashed twice on Friday. But as we get set to bid farewell to Miguel from MotoGP, it looks like he's heading over to World Superbikes. That's certainly the prevailing room at the moment. Oliveira looks like he is going out on something of a high.
There we go then, confirmation that MotoGP will race at Misano until 2031. Always a popular venue for fans trying to catch some late summer sunshine. Of course, it's an iconic area. It has produced so many Grand Prix greats, so many world champions hail from this part of Italy's Adriatic coast. You think of Valentino Rossi, of course, the current crop of VR46 stars, Bezzecchi, Morbidelli, Marini, Andrea Dovizioso, not too far away, born and bred in this neck of the woods, and Marco Melandri as well. There's something in the water in this part of Italy, isn't there, that seems to just create superstars of MotoGP, as you might have noticed, and it's just absolutely jaw-dropping once again. It's a beaut, isn't it? The special home race livery, the tribute livery to Fausto Gresini, which Alex Marquez and Fermin Aldeguer will sport very, very shortly. Another 2nd place for Alex in the sprint here yesterday. Believe it or not, across the sprints and Grand Prix, it was Alex's 17th 2nd place. Can he put one over on Mark and Bezzecchi this afternoon?
So many here will be hoping so. We do see some history, though, made in MotoGP today. History from a Yamaha point of view, as Augusto Fernandez takes the V4-powered machine onto the grid for a Sunday Grand Prix. Augusto Fernandez 18th yesterday in the sprint, after a couple of crashes this weekend and a centre issue which saw him break down on Friday. But this, in many respects, is the beginning of the next chapter in Yamaha's MotoGP history, which hopes, from their point of view, will take them back towards the front. The lap times certainly have caught the eye this weekend so far.
There's only one way to find out and understand where the new V4 M1 stacks up. Well, it's to throw it into the lion's den, throw it into the cutthroat competition that is modern-day MotoGP. Every manufacturer pumping millions of euros of investment into development of their MotoGP machines. They've had all on, haven't they? Yamaha, because they've been having to develop this exciting new V4 project in tandem with their current inline 4-cylinder 1000cc motor. And of course, like all manufacturers, they've certainly got more than one eye cast on the future, and 2027, when we drop down to an 850cc capacity, amongst a whole raft of technical changes that will come in about 18 months or so, perhaps the most significant of which will be the dramatic change from Michelin to Pirelli rubber in the Premier class. Well, this will be the slowest lap of Misano that Marco Bezzecchi has ever completed. Certainly his slowest lap of the weekend. Yeah, ciao Marco. He's seen himself on the big screen and giving us a little bit of a wave with the onboard camera. So far, it's been sensational, hasn't it, as far as Bez is concerned. Now, this is interesting. With the lack of tyre drop, and certainly with the cooler conditions, the coolest conditions of the weekend by far, we did fancy or did wonder if maybe some riders would think that they can make the soft rear tyre go the distance here over 27 laps. Well, our early information clearly indicates that Marc Marquez thinks he can. The factory Ducati rider at the moment, medium front, slick rear. Alex Marquez perhaps going with the more conventional thinking, with a medium rear tyre. Now, it's been a very special weekend here for the MotoGP family in Misano, because there's been the creation, the introduction of the new MotoGP Hall of Fame, and I'm delighted to say one of its members is a true legend. Who will ever match what Freddie Spencer did in 1985 when he was 250cc and 500cc world champion? Well, the best to ever do it. Freddie joins Jack on the grid.
Yeah, he does indeed. What a great weekend we've had here at Misano. Kevin joining us on Friday. We got the chance to speak with Casey yesterday. And firstly, Freddie, congratulations on being inducted into the new MotoGP Hall of Fame. It was a really special evening on Thursday. How proud of you to be a part of that elite club?
Well, obviously it's an amazing privilege, and to be a part of a sport that I've seen grown in my lifetime so much, and to receive the recognition that it deserves, and the organization to be able to reward the riders that have been part of the history, and to be part of that initial group. Obviously, it's very humbling, and it's a privilege and a great honor to share the stage with all the riders.
Right, let's look at today. How do you see this one unfolding?
Well, it should be pretty amazing. You know, the race today should be, I think, you know, after yesterday, what happened, you know, with Mark crashing out and, you know, wanting to wrap up the championship, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Mark has made it look so easy at times this year. It's the 40th anniversary since you won the Premier class and the intermediate class in the same year. Maybe we need to get him to try to do that next year.
Well, I know they had talked about that before, but you know, one thing I wanted to say about one of the great things about what Mark has done is coming back from the injuries. You know, I had injuries kind of at the height of my career after I'd won the 2 world championships, and so I wasn't able to come back from that because I had some wrist problems and stuff. So I'm really proud of the work that Mark has put into it, and just getting it wrapped up, and how much I know it means to him.
Freddie, great to see you here. Enjoy the race.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, fantastic to see former world champion Freddie Spencer here. Well, there's drama for our current MotoGP world champion. A nightmare for the factory Aprilia team, as Jorge Martin's #1 RSGP has broken down. Pit lane's going to close as well. The pit lane exit will close in 1 minute. So there is high drama here for world champion Jorge Martin, whose #1 factory Aprilia has stopped on the sighting lap.
And remember the situation that we had for Fabio Di Giannantonio back in Hungary. He had 2 options. Jorge Martin might now be left with 1 option. So if he now leaves the pit lane to go and join the grid, which he would do at the start of the warm-up lap, Jorge Martin is likely to have to start from his 8th place, or his 11th place, should I say, on the grid, and take a double long lap penalty, because the bike that he took out on the sighting lap clearly is no longer running.
What a disaster for poor old Jorge Martin. Thankfully, no dramas for his teammate Marco Bezzecchi then, as we get to look at our grid for this 27-lap Grand Prix of San Marino.
Yeah, Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez and Quartararo on the front row of the grid, all on the medium rear tyre. Marc Marquez, we believe at the moment, is going for the soft rear from 4th. Morbidelli and Marini join him on row 2. Di Giannantonio, Bagnaia and Acosta are on row 3. Aldeguer, Jorge Martin can still start from 11th on his other bike. Of course, if we get rain and a flag to flag, he's in big trouble. He would then take a double long lap. Joan Mir in 12th place. As you look at the rest of the grid, let's head straight down to Jack. What's going on with Jorge Martin to Aprilia?
He's back in the box now. He's just managed to get back to the box to put in the tyre warmers back onto his spare bike. So he is going to have to start the warm-up lap from pit lane, as you guys surmised, and they're just trying to calm him down now. Obviously, tension's high in the box at the moment. Paolo Bonora just speaking with Danny Aldridge to confirm the rules and what exactly is going to happen with Jorge Martin. But that bike has been dumped somewhere. But the good thing is Martin back in the box and will start the warm-up lap.
Thanks very much, Jack. You're looking at some potential MotoGP stars of the future. They certainly hope so. This is the award ceremony for the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup. Our new champion, Brian Uriarte, in the middle there. Veda Pratama and Hakim Danish in the top three in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup. We believe, keep an eye on those three young riders, because it looks like all three of them will be moving up to the Moto3 World Championship next year. But with the special gold medal around his neck, it's congratulations as Brian Uriarte adds his name to an illustrious list. So many, of course, current MotoGP stars, so many Grand Prix World Champions. They started their road to MotoGP in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup. So yeah, good luck to those three in the future.
And further underlining the value of the Asia Talent Cup too, with Pratama and Danish second and third. So there's your confirmation then from race direction. Jorge Martin can start the one-more lap from pit lane and take his original grid position. The punishment though for doing that means that Martin is going to have to serve a double long lap penalty in this San Marino Grand Prix. Boy, is he on his back foot already.
And as you mentioned, Lewis, he doesn't need rain. If it's a flag-to-flag scenario, well, he's going to be in a massive load of trouble, isn't he? Jorge Martin, if they can't diagnose and find out what's happened to that #1 Aprilia, first and foremost, he's got to get back to the paddock as it was stuck at turn 14. So, pre-race drama. Thumbs up there from Dakota Momola. The clue is in the surname. Yes, he is indeed the son of 4 times MotoGP World Championship runner-up Randy Momola. Well, it doesn't look like they've even got the ergonomics sort of as he wants on that spare bike, as this is Jorge Martin, this is live, and this is him in pit lane now, just sort of trying to get the body position, the handlebars and footrest and the ergonomics right on bike number 2.
Yeah, it might be the only bike he has for this San Marino Grand Prix.
If that one don't fit, it's tough.
Yeah, exactly, you're not starting, I'm afraid, as we take a look at another legend of the game, 1993 World Champion and Hall of Famer Kevin Schwantz, who joined us in the commentary box on Friday afternoon. An absolute pleasure and privilege to share his company, part of this Hall of Fame introduction. There was such a special event to kick off this San Marino Grand Prix weekend.
Yeah, in the middle of the pitch there is Aldo Drudi, of course, the famed designer who's designed so many special helmets for so many riders. Certainly, of course, behind all of the iconic helmet designs for Valentino Rossi. Casey Stoner, double MotoGP World Champion. Jorge Lorenzo, 5 times World Champion. Well, we're awash with Hall of Famers, aren't we, here this weekend? Of course, Kevin Schwantz's shirt's louder than the MotoGP bike, isn't it? Like your style, Kevin, love it. As the pre-race show gets underway. Yeah, we've got Freddie Spencer here, Valentino Rossi here, of course. There is Freddie on your screens right now with Giacomo Agostini. I wonder how many World Championships are currently on the grid. It's a lot, shall we say. And as mentioned, Freddie Spencer, I mean, surely it will never, ever be matched. A rider to win 2 World Championships in the same season. Just to even think about it sounds stark raving bonkers. How on earth he pulled it off is anybody's guess. Awesome to see Freddie back in the paddock, though.
Yeah, so many of the greats of the sport here this weekend as part of that Hall of Fame ceremony. And of course, there are many on this grid who will become Hall of Famers as soon as they retire. Marc Marquez, of course, right at the top of that list, of course, with his 6 and soon to become 7 MotoGP World Championships. Of course, he potentially could have clinched that this weekend had he been successful last weekend in Barcelona. Alex Marquez ensured that that will have to wait at least until Japan, but the events of yesterday when Alex Marquez failed to win the Tissot Sprint meant that even with Marc Marquez's crash from the lead, he is guaranteed to have an opportunity to wrap up the championship next time out in Japan. How good an opportunity? Well, that will be decided in the next hour or so.
Kind of intriguing this to see what Marc's final decision will be in terms of that rear tyre choice. Coming to the grid with the Michelin Soft Slick. You do wonder whether other riders and other teams might have seen that and just been influenced, as we get to look at the all-new, brand-new and wonderful Tower of Champions. It lists all of our Premier Class World Champions. Kenny Roberts Jr., of course, doing on the factory Suzuki. Wayne Rainey, a three-time world champion himself. And for the first time since 2019, in what's felt like 6 long years for Marc Marquez. Well, very, very soon, surely, he'll be adding his plaque once again to the Tower of Champions.
It's been a long road from 2019 to 2025 for Marc Marquez. But as he gets set to start from the second row of the grid, we're right overhead, the World Championship leader, Marc Marquez. He's going to be looking, I guess, to repeat the incredible start we saw from him yesterday. There is Kimi Antonelli, rookie, of course, in Formula One this season, and a podium finisher already in Montreal, tapping into some of the wisdom from a two-wheel great in Casey Stoner.
Yeah, there's plenty of top-notch Formula One talent here in Misano this weekend. We saw Lando Norris enjoying the post-sprint celebrations with Valentino Rossi and Marco Bezzecchi. Good friends, isn't he, Kimi Antonelli, with Valentino Rossi. Seen plenty of videos of those two on go-karting tracks here in Italy, enjoying life on four wheels. As we continue then our build-up to this 16th round of the season. Where has the time gone? It doesn't seem 5 minutes ago, does it, since we were lights out for the first time at the Chang International Circuit in Buriram in Thailand, when Marc Marquez experienced a dream debut in red. It was already an early marker, wasn't it, laid down by Martin. Let's go down live to Jack then on the grid with Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, great to be joined on the grid by Kimi Antonelli, of course, Mercedes Formula One driver. Kimi, I know that you spend a lot of time with Valentino and the academy guys, training week after week with them. So how much do you admire what these guys do on two wheels?
It's impressive. First of all, ciao a tutti ragazzi. Yeah, it's amazing to be here, and you know, I have so much respect for these guys, because what they do on the bike is just unbelievable. So, you know, massive respect, and it's a pleasure to watch.
Great to see you here. Enjoy the race.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful to see the Mercedes star enjoying the pre-race atmosphere. Good stuff as always, Jack, down on the grid. So there is a few dark clouds lingering off into the distance over the Misano Mountains, as finally Jorge Martin's stricken factory Aprilia RSGP has made it back to the paddock. But it was just, worst case scenario as far as the world champion's concerned, isn't it? To have his #1 bike go kaput on the sighting lap.
Unless it's a very obvious fix, given what happened to Fabio Di Gianantonio back in Hungary. I don't think Aprilia are going to take the risk of sending Martin out for the warm-up lap on that bike. Of course, Di Gianantonio did take the risk just in case his #1 bike worked in Hungary, so he could start from the front row. And as soon as he found out that it didn't, he had to start from the pit lane.
A new element to our pre-race grid build-up is the riders coming to the front of the grid, joined by some of our very special guests and our very special legends. Yeah, there's going to be frantic work going on behind the scenes, isn't there, in pit lane, as they try to diagnose what's happening with Jorge Martin. Packed grandstands here in San Marino. That's the reason why we know we're coming back here until 2031 at least. I'm sure that will be extended beyond. Always love coming to this part of the world, don't we, Lewis? And it's not just because of the pizza and the piadinas and the pasta, which whets the appetite.
Yeah, plenty of which has been eaten, let me tell you.
Yeah,
over the course of this weekend.
I've already had to loosen the belt by a couple of holes. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Yeah, on the diet for Japan, that's for sure, over the next few days. Very, very shortly, though, we're going to be taking a breather here in the commentary box as we get to hear the San Marino and the Italian anthems. We'll be with you for another 60 seconds or so before we get what is always special renditions of both anthems here. Those fans are so desperate, aren't they, to see if Marco Bezzecchi can complete a fairy tale weekend. Sprint Saturday was superb, pole position and the victory. But today is when it really matters, when the big World Championship points are at stake, and there's a lot to fight for Bez in the final 6 rounds of the season after Misano. He's only 28 points adrift now of struggling Pecco Bagnaia in the battle for 3rd place in the championship. That looked nailed on, didn't it, for Bagnaia for quite some time. But Bez's late form and Bagnaia's recent slump, well, it's game on in that fight for 3rd place in the World Championship. We're going to take a pause then here in the commentary box for the national anthems of San Marino and Italy.
Formalities now complete. The riders now get set for action here at Misano. Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia standing side by side. World champions both. Let's hear from another world champion, of course a 5-time Grand Prix world champion. Jorge Lorenzo's with Jack.
Jorge, great to see you here. Congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but let's talk this race coming up. How do you see this one unfolding?
Well, it was unexpected, the crash of Marc yesterday, because he was super strong in the last 2 laps, and we all expected that him go away very quickly to Bezzecchi, but finally he crashed. Now in a long race, normally the second part of the race, the second half of the race, Marc is very strong with used tires, but we need to see if this time Bezzecchi can manage to be more consistent than the previous races during all the race.
Yesterday night, Marc said that he feels way more comfortable on the medium, but he's come to the grid on the soft. Can you see him racing the soft?
This is a big thing. Marc has a lot of experience, and if he understands that he can use the soft, it's because he is very convinced.
Thanks, Jorge.
Thank you.
Always great to get the thoughts of the 5 times world champion. Well, Kimi Antonelli knows what this kind of situation is like in Formula One. The countdown to the start of a Grand Prix, when it's just all about sort of trying to keep control of the nerves. 2 MotoGP world champions in your shot there. What a team they would have been back in the day together. Casey Stoner, a Ducati world champion, a Honda world champion. Just speaking to Fabio Quartararo. Of course, very special memories of Misano for the factory Yamaha star. It was right here in 2021 where he was crowned world champion in these very emotional celebrations that followed. Been a few barren days since, as far as Quartararo is concerned. He's still really hoping that this new V4 powered M1 is going to be a major step to getting him back to where he wants to be, where he expects to be, and where he needs to be at the front in MotoGP.
So Marc Marquez did come to the grid on the soft rear tyre. He has now gone across to the medium, which he did say he felt much stronger on yesterday. Of course, ran the soft in the sprint and didn't see the checkered flag. No, that was down to the rear tyre, but Marc Marquez deciding to, I guess, with the pace advantage he looks to have this weekend, no reason to do anything too funky with tyre choice.
Keep them guessing as well, just maybe sow a little bit of doubt into the minds of his rivals. You know, they're all going to be looking at it going, Marc's come to the grid on the soft rear tyre, what do you think? You know, just to sort of throw a little bit of a pre-race curveball out there. as then the grid starts to clear then here in Misano. 27 laps of MotoGP action coming your way very, very shortly. We know Marc Marquez has switched over to that medium rear tyre from the soft. Jack, down to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just had it confirmed by Michelin. Marc is running the medium rear. The only rider on the grid to go with the soft rear, Ayagura.
Thanks very much, Jack. I guess, yeah, Agura-san with little to lose on the track out of Aprilia. Nevertheless, they'll be looking for a bit of a pick-me-up result. Of course, it's the biggest Grand Prix of the week, of the season, as far as Agura-san's concerned. Next time out in Japan. What a moment. His first time racing a MotoGP bike in front of his home crowd. Well, Marco Bezzecchi was the winner of the sprint yesterday, celebrating wooden leg and all. Is he about to give a kick into the competition once again here today? Are we going to get the wooden leg rolled out once again post-race? All to do with an Italian movie, isn't it, apparently? Which is 3 men and a wooden leg, I believe it was called.
It's back from the 1990s, yeah. Marco Bezzecchi, such a fan of that. He said it's been a bit of a running joke in the box down at Aprilia. He's been
running. I like what you did there.
Yeah, did that without even realising. He's been, cracking those jokes with the team down at Aprilia for quite some time. So decided to not only dedicate his crash helmet, but his sprint celebrations to that. Certainly caught us a little bit off guard yesterday when we first saw it.
Yes, one of the quirkier celebrations, I think it's fair to say, that I've seen down the years. Marco Bezzecchi and the factory Aprilia team will be certainly hoping that there is more celebrations to be had in about, 45 minutes or so time. The BMW safety car then peels away at the front of the grid. Chapter 16 coming your way very, very shortly here in a 2025 season, which has been dominated by the number 93, Marc Marquez, having crashed out of the sprint when leading yesterday. Can he avenge that mistake in this 27-lap Misano battle? Your front row then features Fabio Quartararo, Crown World Champion right here in Misano 4 years ago. Second in the sprint yesterday, the Barcelona Grand Prix winner 7 days ago, Alex Marquez, fires away from second. But from pole position, it's Aprilia star Marco Bezzecchi, already victorious in the sprint. Can he complete a dream home double?